We're coming back from our winter break this Friday, and we're going to be enjoying the guest speaking of Caleb Wade again. Caleb spoke to us at our inaugural chapel, and he's led, I think, one since then. Now he's going to be speaking to us this week, and as we continue through Exodus and the story of God's deliverance of his people from Egypt, we're spending our second week here on the 10 plagues. Right, last time we met, if we'll just kind of refresh you, we looked at the first plague of God by the agency of Moses turning the Nile River into blood and the waters in Egypt, bringing this plague, this curse of judgment upon the people of Egypt, and drawing the comparison between what's recorded as Christ's first miracle of changing water into wine, as well as his miracle of delivering the woman with the plague of blood. So we kind of see how there's this comparison here, and we're beginning to see how there's this contrast of whereas kind of curses and plagues fall upon Egypt, and as testimony to God's power in Moses, in Christ there is a more redemptive quality to the signs and wonders that testify to his miracles. Right? These are, rather than inflicting pain and suffering, these are alleviating the pain and suffering that we experience as a result of the fall. Caleb's going to be coming to us in Exodus chapter 8 and a couple of passages from the Gospels.
Mark 1 and Luke 11.
Yeah. So go ahead and just kind of share a little bit there, Caleb.
Yeah, eager to share with everyone. These are, when you brought up these passages to me, I was eager in the sense of like I haven't even myself been able to lead or study or teach through these things before, and so it's exciting to be able to kind of start to think through these things more, and what just small things that I'm enjoying as I look at the three texts. Some themes I see is especially like as God is leading his people in their deliverance from Egypt. He says I'm going to be the one doing this. There's within the plagues, some of it's polemical towards the gods of Egypt, but some of it is a kind of poetic justice, as in the first plague, right? Kind of hearkening back to it was the young Israelite boys who were killed. Their spilled blood is on your hands,
right?
And now you're going to be reminded of that in a very visceral way now. And I think as you look at things like the frogs, which the Egyptian god of fertility, Hecate, which is symbolized in the frog. It's fascinating in the beginning of Exodus, right? Or also perhaps the end of Genesis, where it's people of Israel who swarm, basically it says, in the land of Egypt. They multiply, they grow. And they're the ones, right, who Pharaoh then killed in the Nile. But what do the frogs do? It's this, they're swarming out back upon the land of Egypt. Almost in this poetic saying of like, we're going to remind you of the blood that you've spilled by turning the Nile to blood. And we're going to remind you the swarm, these frogs will swarm upon your land. So it's even more hints of like, remember the violence that the wrong, the sin that you have done against my people. And so that these signs that they're kind of getting not just a taste of their own medicine, but they're seeing the authority, and within there's three pairs of plagues, and within this pair, you do see the kind of magicians and people start to realize this isn't trickery on the part of, it's not like, oh, we're magicians, you're magicians, you have your own tricks up your sleeve. Eventually in this process they see like there is something divine, there's a divine action and judgment happening here that they become acutely aware of.
Right, you see that from the beginning with Moses' staff, or the staff swallowing up their staff, so this disparity is growing. I think it's, you can correct me, but I think it's at the fourth plague where the magicians resign themselves and say, we can't do
Yeah, and that's, and then in the Gospels, what's fascinating, and especially in Mark 1, Mark starts off, right out the gate, no nonsense, all business type of like, we're getting to the plot points, Christ is expelled into the, baptized, John the Baptist, he's expelled into the wilderness to be tested and tried. And he, in his basically testing, but also his, like, he's going into enemy territory.
Right.
Satan in the wilderness, demons, kind of, this possession, these things are kind of plaguing people of Israel in a particular way. So he's going into where there is plague. He's going into where there is this dark shadow that some people have gotten perhaps accustomed to, and some people are desperately trying to become free of. And he demonstrates through his authority, like he's the one with authority. And so I think that's, God has the authority over the gods in Egypt. Demonstrates that through those signs and wonders. And Jesus has his signs and wonders in his ministry, demonstrating, I'm the one with authority as I enter into this shadowy realm, into enemy territory. And that's what he does through his healing, his deliverance. That's what really causes word to spread more and more of like, who is this man?
Right.
Yeah.
So we particularly looking at Christ's power over demons, or unclean spirits, as certain gospels call them. And it's a poignant comparison there between these plagues, right? The one passage we'll be looking at, the Pharisees accuse him of casting out demons by the prince of demons, or by Beelzebub, which is translated like Lord of the Flies, right? Contrast there, we see it I think in Revelation as well, right? Unclean spirits are compared to frogs. So there's this quality of demonic oppression that looks like that swarming, right? That descending upon and kind of just overtaking the territory. And I think that's throughout the Gospels we see that's, like you're saying, the condition that Christ is coming to his people, to his nation, and finding them under that cloud. And it's not just, I guess, an interest. Those are not just interesting things to note. As odd as that might sound to modern sensibilities, I think it's actually, there's a lot of good news there, and probably more applicable than we might realize, in the sense of, evil is real, and it plagues us, it's in us, and it's around us, it's swarming us, and it actually, and that is a kind of a freeing thing to just acknowledge that reality in and of itself. That we're not simply alone, we're not simply just individual soulless material beings that are completely alone, and life is made up of our actions. As modern folks, sometimes we like to think that way. And however, what's hard when we do fall into that mindset, it means that your successes, and it means the tragedies in your life,
and the darkness you see in the world it's only due to man. It's only due to us as creatures, which is you will either condemn your neighbor or yourself when you start to realize, like, if there's nothing, no other forces, good or evil, around me, and all that we see in this world is up to me alone, whether I'm succeeding and doing well in life, or whether these people are, you see evil being inflicted on others, and it's only you're completely alone. Like, you are an animal, but when you acknowledge there are forces, good and evil, well, suddenly kind of the blessings you can't account for start to, wow, that's amazing. You could almost have this account of like doxology or praise, because I didn't do that on my own merits alone. There's no way. And likewise, when you look at evil and suffering, wickedness, and you see that you can, it's almost a compassion to view people who are inflicting evil. It's almost a compassion to say, you're not doing that alone. Yep. You're not just only a creature inflicting that upon other creatures. You are a creature doing that. You're responsible. You have agency.
Right.
But there are forces guiding you, helping you to cause more suffering than you can't even fathom that. And I think, honestly, that's just almost a relief and a compassion to then view your neighbors in a way where they're not the cause of all the evil and suffering in the world, and they're being influenced. Sure. And that's not to say they're not responsible, but still.
Yeah, but it helps us to see this is part of a bigger story. Right?
Yeah.
Right. This engagement with, evil spirits, this engagement with, the emissaries of Satan reminds us that, like you're saying, this isn't just a cold, meaningless interaction of matter, but this is the true battle between good and evil, between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman, and we see Christ taking that, taking his place, right?
Yeah,
it's not contrary to the the mockery of the Pharisees. It's not by the power of the prince of demons, but by him who is above and who has always used them for his own ends and purposes.
Yeah. There's no trickery. There's no ultimate toil. Like, he has his word, by his word, his authority. He's coming in, and he dismisses Satan. He dispatches the enemies of those plaguing those who are oppressed, and it's not this picture of the pagan gods who are at such strain and war with each other, tearing each other apart. They're 50-50. Who knows who's going to win in a fight? He walks on the scene. He not only calms the storm, and his word has authority over creation itself, but he has the authority here. And that's really the remarkable and the good news of the coming of his kingdom, that people are starting to recognize in the gospel accounts of this man is not, he's not this sweaty, battered warrior riling up. He's not causing a riot.
Right.
It's unlike anything else, and that's that's just where the good news is, and so it's marvelous.
I forget whether this is one of the passages we look at or not, but it just reminds me of there's the case where Christ casts demons out of man, I believe. I forget. I think Capernaum, maybe, but the way his the community sees him after the fact is now he's clothed and in his right mind, right? And so this is an undoing of that chaos, and so there's right, Christ is named the Prince of Peace, and so he's coming, bringing peace,
Yeah.
right, to those who would come to him by faith.
Yeah. It's not. It's not trickery. It's not more superstitious rituals and acts and things. Even in the Exodus account of the plagues, that's what's amazing too. It's God is the one who's going before Israel to do this. Aaron and Moses aren't, doing incantations and things. They're just like, hey, by the way, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like that's your part. That's it's not this other superstitious act of more works and more enchanted things. That to me is quite striking. It's not that he's stoic and removed, he doesn't care. He sees the suffering, he enters into it, but as this like calm, resolved anchor, as the Lord who has authority over this. And that's how he's demonstrating his deliverance for his people.
And one thing that I hope we're seeing through walking through the plagues and the miracles of Christ, we're kind of taking a slow look at these things, slowing down a little bit, although kind of promise to speed up here. However, what the miracles of Christ show us is the bigger picture, like we're saying, of what Christ is doing. Right? These aren't merely miracles, right? Not merely supernatural acts that show his power and his authority, but they're also showing what he came to do. And while we do not all experience demon possession, we do all experience the tyranny of the devil, right? And being under sin and under the dominion of Satan. Being delivered from that is something that we rejoice in Christ's work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's when he's not again dealing with those forces, but when he calmed the storm with a word. The disciples were terrified of the storm. But when he calmed the storm, they looked at him, and their fear was then towards him. And that is a powerful thing. Like, you think of the darkness in the world, you can be very afraid of it, and you can, and rightly so. Like, we are compared to those forces. We are, alone. Who are we? But he's the one who calmly has the authority to dispatch those things. And so whom should we fear? The Lord. But whom is our refuge and our hope? So, it's wonderful.
So much good stuff. And
cool.
Appreciate that you'll be there.
Cheers.
Look forward to seeing you guys there this Friday. Have a good week.